Okay. We're on. Are we on? Yeah, we're on. Yeah, we
That's a
are.
great way to start. This, I gotta get them damn work glasses.
It was? Who's so funny?
Jokes.
Me? No, I don't. That's your cousin? That's not what you told me earlier. You said you just met that guy outside. Snag, that's what you said. Snag, maybe.
Put me in my car.
He was looking kind of lost when he bought land. Oh, good.
Shelter me from the storm.
It's cold outside?
He was earlier. Yeah, I had. Oh, wow. We did.
Well,
I mean, it's just.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in to Philly Hot Radio. And yeah, we having a, well, not we, because I'm at the profession now. I just have two people here who one claimed he found one guy outside. Now they're gonna play it off and start laughing at like their family. They don't look nothing alike. Got Fumo D twin brother over here. Wait a minute. What? Now tell me if y'all like the hat, ladies and gentlemen. What's this? Howdy, partner. You know, I've always had shows, but I never had a show we just start off like this. I don't feel like the week is not here.
I was lost a little bit. In today's climate, I can't say anything back.
Yeah, we prefer that you don't. I'm expecting you to start kicking some. Oh, you got hair white the cigars.
You allow me to touch some cigars.
Right, D up in here, boy. Yeah, boy. But anyway, we are live, Philly Hot Radio, and we're here. What are we going to be talking about? Wars. Something that I know very, very, very little about, but you're going to help me. Yes. They're right, Prince Mac. Yes. And his real name is Mac. Yes. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was like, like a stage name, exit stage to the left. Is his whole, yes.
My real name is Mac.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, we here. So congratulations. Thank you for coming back. I say congratulations. Yes. But yeah, Moors. Tell me, tell all of us, what is a Moor? What is the true definition of a Moor? And what makes you consider to be a Moor?
One, you all Moors. And that's pretty much what the true definition of a Moor is, the original people. That's what we call ourselves. This is who we define ourselves to be. For the advent of the Inquisition, other historical events that not to get too deep into, not to get too deep on the basis of understand. But a Moor is you. A Moor is me. A Moor is it. The Moors are our people. And it's been a big miseducation op to confuse us and they was and things that we're not. So they can take advantage of the things that we have, which is the land and the right to be free.
Now, when you say they, who are they?
Well,
Yeah.
let's say for context, they come to all colors. It's just the people that want to take everything from you, that want to suck your energy, vampires, we call it temple sit, blood people. They can look like you, they can look like me. You know what I mean? Like they all in the same team and they're all working for the same objective, and that's what keeps us oppressed and keep them in power. So I mean today is that's a wide net, it's a wide net it casts.
Okay. I'm just putting it out there on social media, that I have you here, and we're going to be talking about something that's very interesting because a lot with within the past couple of months, actually since George Floyd's death, has been surfacing.
Right.
More talks about Black history, more talks about, because we never knew we had a history or part of history. We just knew we were something demeaning, degrading, anything below the other set of people.
Right.
We didn't know, and again, I did not know what slavery was until afterwards. Get to class, I got to class late, and there are two doors to get into the classroom. The first door was you come right to the teacher. The back door, I came in through the back because I seen everybody laughing and joking. I'm like, oh, okay, throwing spitballs. I couldn't see the teacher at the time. I got inside and I found that it was a substitute. Snuck right in. But right after, I'm sorry, it was the Holocaust, and found that our substitute was, she was a survivor, or was descendant of one. She was saying how, when they came, they told everybody they was going to take a shower, put them in what was the gas chamber, turned it on, and when they was throwing the bodies out, threw the bodies on top of each other. Her mother managed to wiggle out, went across one state line and come free, but they were literally pulling the gold, the actual teeth out with pliers, no medication, just to get the gold out the teeth. And it's like, wow, we don't use gold now, but just to hear that and then come loose. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, is that a true story? No, seriously, that happened to us. Wow. But then comes Amistad, and now come unfolding of more Blacks, stories that was never taught.
Why do you think that is?
Well, if we listen to some white American journalists now, it's so that we are not holding their descendants, the white descendants, responsible, and we're not dividing and hating them. So you want to hide the truth, so to make us look like, as you put us, animals and monkeys and savages and beasts. Well, how can you mistreat us and mistreat other races, and then try to just so so you're just the perfect ones, but we're all savages and beasts?
And that's the key point that you said on. We're the perfect ones. That's a product of miseducation. Okay, so the whole storyline we were coming in with, all they're having to do with Black person was now was homicide, and then they got what
the Nat Turner, Harry Tubman, and they started talking about Tulsa, and
they're going to do Tulsa. But if you notice, it's all the same characters, it's all branded under the Black, right? So why do they want to keep you Black? Why do they want to remind you of these types of stories, right? So when you start digging into your history, you start realizing that it's about 95% of these stories are historically inaccurate and are mostly false. And you start realizing that your history is more illustrious than what they told you to be. It makes sense for why you want to keep you Black, oppressed, impoverished, disenfranchised, poor, and angry, and all the emotions. There's a reason for that. So for you to say, I didn't know about slavery until I seen the books.
Right.
That's great miseducation. You understand what I'm saying? Slavery didn't happen in America for 400 years. Legalized slavery started in 1779 and 1865. So you got a period of 85 years that slavery actually happened. So the whole narrative that they freed the slaves from being enslaved for 400 years is completely false. If you go back and look at the Louisiana legislature in 1868, they were all Moors. So how were we enslaved for 400 years in 1868? Our people were running the South and the Confederacy for the most part. So you got to just take your time, go back, and rework history. You got to unlearn a whole bunch of things and learn all the
language.
Language, yes. So language is very important. Once you get to studying neuroscience, and let me break that down too, because a lot of people really don't understand what neuroscience is. Neuroscience is our history. It's the history of everything. It has to do with building, if it has to do with art, if it has to do with language that we use for into that is more science. It is the total culmination and history of our people, the things that we've done. So when you're studying different philosophies and different degrees, the advanced, what they call education, you're really studying more science. And the history that you're learning about in the past is really more science, except that a little bit impressive that they're giving us to try to mess our brains up. So you really have to unlearn and learn again. So and that's the important thing. The culture is in the language. So you're talking to me, I know in an instant what side you're on, what game you're playing by how you're speaking to me. So if you're telling me that you're a black person, something's not right, because you're calling yourself a color. If you're supposed to be intelligent, if you're a scholar, if you have a PhD or a doctorate, or a master's degree, then you know that you can't be a color. And as you advance in these certain arenas, people know the game. You have to know the game to play it. So that's when you know who's on the other side, who's on the other side of the fence. The culture is in the language. I would never go around and call myself black because I know that's not who I am.
Now, question. Okay. So I've been around the conscious folks, and no, the reason why I say that is because I get it. You and I had this conversation way on because what happened was I stopped using that word because I used to always wake up, good morning, everyone, something like that, and I would say black love, and it was like correcting me. So eventually I stopped using that word, but I used it even after you corrected me because some of us are still used to that word,
Right.
and I get that we have to learn to unlearn.
Right.
So if I keep using that word, I'm never going to get him
Right.
as an example to stop using that word because I keep saying it, even though I want you to stop using it, but as an example.
Right.
So I guess pretty much I was answering my own self. But what do you say to those country folks who use, and I'm not going to name names, but who tells a story like you, but they still refer to people of melanin complexion as black, brown people?
It's really hard. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have the right message. They just have the wrong language. You understand? Because maybe they haven't dug back that far into our history yet, or maybe they're basically they're simply going off their academic education, which is really a miseducation for all intents and purposes for the whole population because they don't teach, they miseducate everybody. It's the same reason that we can go to school K to 12 and I mean on European can go to school K to 12 and they'll come out and feel like it's superior even though we have the same teachers. It's based on how you actually let it out, which is really what education is. It means to be led and you let it out. The root word comes from the Latin figere, and it means to be out. So we're going to do erudition when you assimilate, when you get your knowledge, and you actually think about it and you draw your own conclusions. That's how you get to stop using that word in a way that is detrimental to yourself. It's all about being cognizant of your thoughts.
Diligent enough to correct yourself.
Right. And to correct yourself. So it wasn't an easy task for me in the beginning. Every time that I said a word that I didn't like, I would have to constantly stop myself. Whatever I was doing, no matter what type of conversation I was having, and correct myself. Until I got to the point where it was something that it was just second nature. I didn't use it at all. But for a lot of those people out there that want to stick to the term, I implore them to start studying language, start studying the etymology, start learning how to put words in their proper matrix. And once you put black in its proper matrix, you'll see that's an adjective but not a noun. So that's learning.
Right.
Learning.
Yeah, something.
That work like I can't.
Something, I'm always, it's a little scary. I'm not gonna lie, like all my life I was told that was a baseball cap, a brown. Now you sit here and tell me that's a brown, like no, because see, my grandfather wore it all the time. His grandfather wore it all the time, and that's what they said. Now I have to learn to readjust myself to say, no, that's not a scarf, that's a band-aid. No, that's not. It's that,
Great point. And was life not scary for your grandfather, for his child? What I'm saying, the same thing.
Well, the thing,
And
see,
then coming to the day, you still seeing, you're still seeing the same thing happen over and over again, right? So really, is it a question of how much work you have to put in to really unlearn what you've learned? Is that the issue for most people? Comfortability and being okay with the circumstances and situations while you still living clean, or looking at something different and actually sitting down and thinking about like, does it really make sense? And what can I actually do with that? And knowledge is power. And the food is also really important is what you do with it after you swallow it up. So, I can sit here and talk to you talking blue in the face and do nothing with the words that I say or do nothing with the direction that I'm trying to give you. It's gonna amount to nothing to you. So there's really nothing that I can say to those people except for study more.
right,
Study more. You know what I mean? Study more. That's it.
right. Study more. So, we have a guest here. Right. We have a
That's
guest.
it.
Yeah.
And this, everybody, this is my cousin, Will. And he's a boy. We have an interesting journey. I actually started this truth search, I don't know how many years ago, decades ago, but about 10, 11 years ago, I came up on was it Sovereign Citizen Day. And I figured out some things, and I had all the paperwork filled out and everything, and at the last second something stopped me. It just didn't feel right. It felt right, but something feel right. It didn't feel right, So I was trying to figure out what it was, and like it took some years before I actually stumbled into the truth, the real truth. But he was right there along that process, and since I've been walking this life and living in my truth, he has began to walk in his truth as well. So he has certain similar experiences or certain experiences as a Lord that I would like him to discuss so that people would get a different perspective than just mine. Because like I can tell you what I live, I can tell you what I live every day, and people might not think that it's real. But we have another one here, and then I have another one that I'm trying to get on the line, and we'll try to get his experiences as well. But this is Nate Will, and
Well,
Wait.
how you doing? Hey, don't mind.
Don't bug me out, yo. I mean, like, so the whole Moorish nationality thing, right? Like, it's one thing to read it, it's one thing to try to process the information in your head. And it's another thing when you actually have to kind of, man or woman up and walk it to some extent. And you're talking about being nervous, right? Like,
Right.
so one of his experiences he's referring to, I had to go to court. And
that's an uncovered space.
So I go to court, supposed to go up on like charge of driving without insurance, as they call it, and driving while suspended. Now we all know driving is a commercial thing. I'm not going to get into that. Long story short, I show up. I basically let them know who I am, what I am, letting them know that I understand I'm a Moor, I understand the status that I have, and due to that status, they don't have the jurisdiction to really do anything. I want to transfer this case to like federal.
Tell them what I believe. I don't know what you're going to transfer this to the District Court for the state of Delaware to a federal jurisdiction. Because the court that he was attending is not Article 3 court. It's not an Article 3 judge. It's administrative. It's corporate.
It's corporate.
And the only way they can actually have jurisdiction over you in any type of venue is not actual court. As if you volunteer your right, if you show up, it's called acquiescence. So if you place yourself in the wrong jurisdiction, you're actually in the wrong jurisdiction. So I told him to tell him that because he has an out. We guarantee the Republican form of government, right? Not a Democratic Republican form of government, wherever that stuff they want to count. But I told him to tell him that. And what happened when you said that?
Yo, dude looks at me, says, yo, come on, man. You put it on the percent. Like, yeah, and he was like, look, man, you got insurance for the car? And I was like, that car was like 2 cars ago. You know what I mean? Like, now I ain't got it for that. He was like, well,
5 years.
yeah, like 6.
That's practice that you know, by this is a case that's 4, 5, 6 years old.
Yeah, for sure.
4, 5, 6 years old, right?
3 charges.
Yeah, this is a nuisance case. This is what they call paper terrorism.
Yeah, for sure. But I like so before they set this up, and I had told them I was a war with not like before that, the judge basically said, if you don't show up in this one, we're gonna lock you up for whatever the minimum is anyway. Something like that. You know, I'm like, whatever. Now let's go back to this. So talking to the DA, the assistant DA, he's like, can you come talk to me over here? He's like, you have any proof of insurance right now? What you driving? I said, sir, I'm traveling. I'm not driving. Blah, blah, blah. He's like, understand, but the car you're traveling in, you have insurance for that? I was like, well, yeah, I got it for this one. You know what I mean? He's like, can you show it? I was like, then let my cell phone. And he's like, I tell you what, you go out, you email it to this. He's like, everything will be thrown out. Just come back in. Hey, I went downstairs, emailed him my insurance card, came back up, walked in. He said, they called my name. That case has been resolved. That case is dismissed. Whatever. I didn't know.
Wrong piece.
Throughout the case. Because they didn't want to admit they don't want to admit the fraud, right?
That's a big part of it.
They don't want to admit the fraud. If they sent my case to the state district court or whatever, my fault, I can't get right there right now. They would be admitting that I'm a lord, and they don't have jurisdiction.
So let me clear up
Okay.
what happened. So, like I said earlier, these courts they send you these summons to appear, or they command you to appear. That's because they're already assuming jurisdiction over your person based on a corporate status that you never agreed to at birth. Now, that deals with the birth certificate, other things, admiralty law, but they do what I call it's fraud. So basically, they sent him a writ of error that all capital letters named, commanded his straw to come to court, but they want to hold him as surety for the straw man. So the person that they charged doesn't actually exist at all. In order for him to stand as a natural person, people have to be in a constitutional court. You have to be in a district or federal court because that is the only proper venue that a man can actually show up in and have any type of standing. These state courts are all corporate. The state is a corporation. It's not a living person. It's dead.
So those that are already incarcerated, could they come back and say, hey, I'm more
Yep.
in?
Yes, they can. And then we can do some work. And the reason they can do that is because you are guaranteed through the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, United Nations Compact, to be able to have nationality. And you have the ability to self-determine. So you can say who you are. Nobody can tell you who you are. Okay? So, like, those brothers that are incarcerated, if they're really serious about their nationality, I'm not going to help nobody that's just trying to get out of jail and not be like, that's crazy. But if you're really into who you are, and you're really trying to figure out this process, it's like, yo, but like, for real, the reason that you in there is because you call yourself black. You have no standing in law when you're a quote-unquote black person.
Now, I'm learning.
Right.
Give me a minute. It took me a minute to learn. But now, does that apply with all court? Because you know, there's civil, there's criminal. You know, does that apply to the civil part as well? You know, they summon him in for criminal. I'm sorry, for civil matter.
I would think that because it's a civil matter, right? Like that means there's going to be damage. Like the damage would have to be proven either way, person to person.
Right. So his venue would still be in the United States. Okay, so the state court is basically it's an uncovered space. If you go into any court and you see a United States uh, banner, that's not a flag, that is a banner, right? You see a banner there with gold fringes, that lets you know that it's under military occupation. Because if you go to USC Section 4 of the United States Code, it gives you all the dimensions of the flag, of what's supposed to be the flag. That flag is not that actual dimensions, or it's supposed to have the fringes.
So flag codes matter.
The flag codes matter. Also, there needs to be a copy of the Constitution somewhere on the wall in that courtroom. If you look around and you don't see a copy of the Constitution on the wall, then you're actually in the tribunal. They know all these things. It's about playing the game. So if when you walk into that courtroom, say you get that summons, you walk into that courtroom, right? Right there, you just acquiesce to that jurisdiction because they commanded you to appear and you just showed up. So right now they're assuming jurisdiction over you anyway, just because you showed up, because you don't understand the proper process.
Now, okay. So I get something.
Right.
They tell me to go, but I go, and not knowing those things are there. Am I still held responsible, or can I say, hey, wait a minute, this is not there. Okay, I'm a Moor, I gotta go.
Well, you're going to be held responsible because you can't. But based on the fact that what you just said, you would say that I'm a Moor. You got to be able to say I need to go. Basically, that's defining your status.
Okay.
So they can't use it as prefixure evidence.
So like when you deal with law, you gotta understand that the first issue of law is status.
Okay.
Okay? There's jurisdiction. There's adjudication. Your status as a Moor places you as a non-U.S. citizen nationally because you're foreign to the corporate United States. 28 U.S.C. subsection 3002 says the United States is a federal corporation. Country.
Could you say that again?
28 U.S.C. subsection 3002 United States means federal corporation. It is not a country. It is not a nation. It's a business.
So United States is a business.
It's a business.
You look at your license.
Nice.
You look at your license and the things that they call licenses. Everything's in cash. Your credit cards, everything's in cash, right? Is that how you would write your payroll?
Like start off the beginning.
Yeah, but everything else would be lowercase.
It's lowercase.
Right. So you look at your driver's license, right? And license, by the way, means permission. So they're giving you permission
right to
drive, right? Which is unconstitutional because you can't convert the right into a verb.
I have the right to travel.
Right.
Right, because you have to be licensed to drive.
And that should be a right.
No, so driving is a
commercial act.
Okay.
Right.
So when you're driving, you're actually for hire.
Yeah.
So if you're driving a cab,
Right.
a limo, you're actually an employee for somebody, and you're actually doing work. That is considered driving. But if I'm just wanting to visit you at your house, I'm not driving because I'm not for hire. I'm not employed by anybody that goes see you. I'm traveling. And if you go look up the old definition of traveler, if you go back to the Black World Dictionary second edition, it says that travel is go from country to country and can be unmolested. So you're allowed to travel, but based on the system in this construct, they got us all bundled up in and thinking we're this and thinking we're that. They got us confused and we're actually playing into their hands by acquiescing to the things that they put out here.
Now you know what? I'm listening to you. My mind is racing as you're talking because these laws were created by statutes were
Law and
created.
statute not the same thing. Law is the Constitution, right?
Okay.
The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Treaties of the Constitution, supreme law of the land. Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution.
Say that page one more time.
Article 6, come on, man. Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution says that the Constitution and any treaties made are the supreme law of the land. So anything that a state makes is a statute and it's enacted as law. But you gotta understand what the word act means. It means to perform or it means to put on. So like if it's enacted as a law, that means it's not really a law, it's a statute. Statute is not a law. So once again, you're dealing with commercial jurisdiction and you're dealing with real life. Anything you're dealing with commercial is debt. A corporation comes from a court.
So
Artificial person.
what I was trying to ask was that if the white man made these
Let me stop right there.
Okay.
No, because I want people to understand. Like, so basically, this is the same thing as calling yourself black, right? So you say, you say, I'm a black person, right? But then but you're actually putting that oppressive label on yourself. In this society, that's considered civilly dead. It means you can't think for yourself. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you're saying white, that means you're saying that person is superior. So every time you say a white man, you're actually bigging up white supremacy, or what they call white supremacy, right? Because you're playing into that narrative, right? So they're not white.
Because that's a color and an adjective as well.
That's a color and an adjective as well.
To
They
show
don't look like
their
this.
status, the white status.
Right, which is really us. Because it really comes from us. Everything is going to flip. And that's the thing that our people need to understand.
Yeah, we do.
When we go back in history, we were taught in school that all of these people in Rome and England and stuff like that were just quote unquote white people. They weren't. They were us. You know?
Yeah,
So,
everything about history or lecture of that I was gradually learning was, a lie. Of course, if it was a lie, but growing up, we didn't know any better to say or to question. I had people who are not my color teaching me about
that's what school is for.
right, and never even to my mother, no disrespect, mother, aunt, cousins, no one going back to even question, hey, wait a minute, they're not our color, telling us about their color, people of their color, and then all we hear is how great they were, how honored they were, and how privileged it is to be, and I was like, wow, okay.
That was a part of your indoctrination. That's their culture. You understand? Like, even in this culture that we live in today, this is not our true culture. That is not Jewish culture.
So what do I call? How do I address them?
I mean,
no, because I can't call them white because now I put them as superior status.
I really address them as Albion European because they are Albion.
Okay.
Right.
So my question is, are Albion Europeans were the ones that created history? They're the ones that told us about these laws, the ordinances, and the treaties. But to a degree. But wouldn't you think that if they're the ones that made these things, then they would know that, hey, we should know that when I send you this paper to come to court, you're not supposed to come because,
Because the system is rigged for you not to understand it.
No, I'm just saying even for their own.
No, because they have to sacrifice some of them just to make sure make it look like that's what's really happening. You understand what I'm saying? They don't care about their quote unquote white people that's in the streets or that's living below them. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
but okay, so you have judges and lawyers. Would they not know that either?
They know.
But they still go.
You don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they all know. They're all on the same team.
So like they have to pass the bar, they know it.
And this is what this is playing. This is playing to what you were just saying. So basically, like, yeah, they know it. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want you to know it because that's how the system operates. By you being ignorant. You know how they say ignorant to the law is no excuse.
Yeah.
Right? But them being officers of the law is deemed to know the law. So every time they sit on the bench or every time they go into a courtroom or what they call a courtroom where they do something that out of color of law, they're actually in treason.
I'm not sure if the actual policy enforcers and police officers know it all. Some of them probably do. I don't know if all of them do.
They know what their job is. The police are the linchpin of what we call white supremacy. Those are the people that's supposed to keep us in fear. Those are the people that's supposed to pull the uprising. You ever been somewhere in the neighborhood now? It could be 20 brothers on the street. 20 brothers got guns. 20 brothers mad at the other, 10 brothers mad at two sides going at each other. As soon as you hear the whoop whoop, what happens to all 20 people? They all run, right? That's fear. You got one cop car, maybe 2 police officers. You got 20 of us, and you're gonna run from 2 guns, and y'all got 20. Think about it.
Yeah.
You gotta understand what's really going on here.
Things like the ice cream machine.
So we'll go at each other, but we won't go at the oppressor with the same energy. And that's their job, is to keep us in fear. That's to keep them, or who we're going to say the Albion Europeans, that's to keep them feeling safe in a land that's not really theirs. Now, they all do that because they'll tell you that, oh, I'm English, I'm Irish, I'm Scottish, I'm from this, you know what I mean? So they know they're not American. They're naturalized U.S. citizens. You can't be a naturalized U.S. citizen and American at the same time.
It's interesting because when I actually was thinking or trying to rationalize a lot of things, once I found out about the slavery stuff, it made me think. Back in the day, we lived, even when we were free, quote unquote, we became free. We had, places to live. The thing is, when the Albion Europeans came, it, like you said, it made me too, and I would always watch the movies, and it was like, wait a minute, they, even back then, they never thought to club or beat them or, they would walk in town and they would run us, we would run inside our homes and hide up, I'm coming to get so and so and so and so, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's more of us than them, but yet you would, and it's not like there was forensic evidence back then, but I don't know, I guess because they were, it was instilled in them so long that, it was that fear that, we can't rise up or raise up against them, so they took them. Yeah, and but I used to watch the movies and it's like, wow, so many of us.
Think about what you just said. You used to watch movies.
I did.
So what was that movie doing? Television is called what? Television programming. Right?
Well, no, what I mean like the
yeah, but that those movies are programming you to think that way. So if you see, so if people were out here in this street, right, and we were to see that same type of imagery that you see in that movie, you would actually, those same type of film would be involved in. You'd be trying, oh, what's going on? I might have to get away from this situation because you've seen so many movies where bad things happen to people that look like you when you see these type of mobs.
No, I would just wonder, like, why didn't we just come together? Like, come on, and
because
so fear, but
it's been instilled in you for so long. I had so talk about my situation in 2019 where I had a Delaware State Police put a gun in my face.
Yeah.
Right? And this went international. This went all the way around the world, right? So he was saying that he was scared for his life. I was seatbelted in the car. You're the one with the gun standing up, but you were afraid. Yeah, a little bit, maybe a little bit taller than me. I was only probably maybe 200 pounds at the time. He weighed another 25, 30 pounds more than I did. Heavier than me and everything.
Strapped, head
over. But he said he was in fear for his life. I was seatbelted in the car the whole time. You understand what they're like? Yeah, that's crazy. So when he pulled the gun out, I'm like, why are you pulling the gun out? My whole thing was just to keep him from pulling the trigger. Because I'm watching the vein in his neck bulge. Then he puts the gun up, and he gets back. He tells me, trying to take me out the seatbelt or whatever. I'm trying to record, so he pulls the gun out again. This time he puts it on my chest. I felt it go through my coat, touch my rib. And our face is turned literally where his neck is at. I can see nothing but red, and I can see this vein bulging in his neck. He was so scared of a seatbelted man that he almost killed him. You understand? So like that's why we see these type of images. We see the old pictures of our people hanging from roots. They show us roots and all these shows like to keep us in that mental state so we don't rise up and be a great people.
Never thought about it. I just thought it was an insight to wow, y'all did that. Oh, okay, now I get to look at you. I never looked at them in fear. Once I saw that, I looked at them, I can't say hatred, but now, it was angry. It was like, wow, you literally did that to us. But what intrigued me more was to know that you literally would degrade us more with the name calling, and then the savages with animals, and yet you want to rape us. So now I'm sitting up here, well, who's more sick? The person that calls me the animal or the person that actually want to have sex with a human animal?
The person that acts like an animal. The person being called, the person being acting like one.
Yeah. It's just kind of
They're projecting.
right. But to make everyone else now that the truth is starting to come out.
But see,
Let's make the whole world know. No, these are animals that we had to do these things. But guess what?
A lot of the world already knew
Right.
who we are.
oh yeah, if you go to other places in the world, they'll dress up in blackface, put the feathers on, and celebrate the movies. It's in a mocking tone, but they know who we are.
Right.
But not here in America because this was the Moorish Empire. This is what I'm.
Now Juneteenth. Juneteenth. There seems to be a lot of shaking and waking up, and I noticed there's a lot of shaking and petrifying going on within the walls of our alleged White House. Juneteenth. What does that mean to you when you hear Juneteenth?
Me?
I'm trying to be a politically correct right now. Yeah, I'm supposed to be politically.
He said it was.
Okay, my bad.
I don't laugh to mock the actual celebration, but like I said, when you start learning history, right? You start learning about the 13th and 14th Amendments, right? And you know that the 14th Amendment was never constitutionally ratified or passed, and that slavery never ended, and that the actual citizens that was protected in the language of that amendment was actually talking about the indentured servitude people that came from over there to over here in America, right? It wasn't protected nothing. So that's why they didn't find out they was free until they left, because they was never free. Somebody, it was just like, how you in class and somebody like, hey, son, da 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 da. By the time we get to the end of the room, somebody else got, and so the last person that got that message until they crossed the state line was wrong. And that's basically what happened. So like, I understand the nostalgia of it. I understand, people wanting to have a connection to it, but historically, right, you're not celebrating something that's even in reality truth. Because slavery never ended, and we understand that it never ended by the connotation that they black. That's the same present label as African American, Negro, colored, color.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? We still have an NAACP. Think about this. They still have an NAACP. That's the national what? Association of Color, right? They still call people color people. It's 2021, right? James Brown came out 68 said, "I'm black and I'm proud." They never changed their logo. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then you got Jesse Jackson come out in the 80s, and now you got African American.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden we black again. Every 20, 25 years we something different.
Yeah.
But before the 1500s, you would never find mention of black people. And even the labels, from the Christian slave code in the 1700s is when the oppressive labels of black, African American, Negro, and those terms were even applied. So prior to the 1500s, you will find not one indigenous population on the planet called black people. Nor will you find any indigenous population called white people or Albino Europeans because they're not the original people. And that's another truth that they're trying to hide too. That might be a whole other topic, a whole other story. Because that has a deep history that they're uncomfortable listening to or even discussing. So
Not where they came from.
yeah.
Yeah.
And who they are. So
Yeah, who we are.
GST.
yeah, it's a whole different segment. I'm gonna get to that one.
Yeah. I want to learn. I want to learn.
Right, so that's what the whole process is about. So if anybody is out here listening to the things that are being said, it is a process. You're not going to get to where this young man is, or where I'm at, or maybe where she's at in her walk as fast as the next person might. You might go past me. You never know. But it is a process. It's not something that you're going to do overnight. I've been studying for over 20 years, and I've studied different cultures, different religions. I've studied everything that I could get my hands on. Read books. Like I said, I got 10,000 books easy since school days. So it's a combination of information that I've been able to synthesize, and then actually take my teachings and still listen to my mentors and still listen to my spiritual advisors and people that have more knowledge than me to craft my path, to see where I need to go. Because being a Moor is about navigating, and your navigation is personal to you. do might not work for you because we might not be walking the same path. So you might have to do this a little something different. And I think one of the major issues right now is people want something that's so streamlined and get them to the end point as fast as possible that everything that you have to do in between is kind of overwhelming and discouraging, so they don't do anything at all. And like that's the main issue is getting our people to actually start and then start actually taking action. Because like I said, you can have the information, but if you don't apply it, you know what I'm saying, you don't have any power. At all.
I hope everybody got it like I did. It is a, and I think you and I had this, and I'm not sure if we had the discussion before, you know, when I was growing up, actually I did, we was singing that song, you know, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, and when I hear stuff, you know, about blackness and unity, and I'm like, oh no, you can't, like, I don't want to feel like, I don't want people to be mad at us. My mother, no one ever said anything bad about any race.
Right.
That was just me. I didn't want anybody else to look at me growing up like, oh my gosh, she thinks like him. See, he's telling us, you know, I didn't know it was fear, but you know, coming up, that was me. You know, now I'm in a whole different place. You know, if I offend you, that's not my intention. But my intention is to make it known that what you have been telling me, that I have been telling others, that have been telling others, that had trickled down, was a lie.
Right.
So we need to learn more. But what happened was we are so embedded in because I don't want to learn about that. You know, because like, now seriously, now why would you want to start talking about this now? Like, come on now. You know, is this really? Like, is this going to change anything? Because these are the thoughts of a lot of people. Because you know, I'm so embedded. Come on, no, where did you get that from? Like, are you serious? See, I don't know anything about more, but that more word came from somewhere. You know, it didn't just happen in 2021. So that meant if it was out long before, then it can't be a lie. You know,
you go to the Library of Congress and type in more. Look at the long list of books that have been published for hundreds, if not thousands of years talking about wars. And then, like I said, we can't go past the 15th century and find mention of anybody called black people. You understand what I'm saying? So, like you said, it's been ingrained in us. That same fear that you had is not, I don't want them to think like, I don't want them to think that I think like that person right there. That's a fear of not knowing who you are. That's not having knowledge of self, because once you get to knowledge of self, it empowers you. And you don't care about, you know, like I'm not responsible for the feelings that the truth creates.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I'm not responsible for the feelings that the truth creates. Because if you lied to me my whole life and I correct you and you get upset, who really had the problem in the first place? Why would I have to correct my learning? You know what I'm saying? You get the right context, and then when I tell it to you, you get upset. Well, the issue wasn't with me, it's in me correcting myself and me not understanding, or me understanding that I'm not what you said I was, and now we have an issue.
Right.
So that becomes the problem with the other side, or the people that's on the other side, because I don't want everybody to think that the other side is just Albion European. It is your people too, and to be honest, the Albion Europeans are more or less the proxies for our people that's really running the show. So you had some very, very dirty boys, you know, that's probably sitting somewhere in the Philippines, somewhere that have a lot of power, and they're really running the show because we are the original people on the planet, and everything has always run through proxy. See, that's another part, that's another layer that we don't understand. So while they're out in front looking like they're being a slave master, it's really somebody that looks like you that's running them. Because they never had power on this planet.
Django.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No Stephen.
Sam Jackson, he was the actual slave owner. And Leonardo DiCaprio was the actual slave, but he was using DiCaprio as the proxy so the slaves wouldn't know that he was the actual owner running it. That's how at the end of the movie, go in the movie and look at the end of that movie, and when DiCaprio goes into the study in the library, and Sam Jackson sitting in the seat and he turns around. Right? And Sam Jackson talking to DiCaprio like he's a free man, because he was. On the outside, he had to play that role. He had to play Steven. The the slave that
Yeah,
he
yeah.
really took his own slaves. You understand what I'm saying? So there is actually a part of our history that a lot of wars don't like to deal with, but we do have a part of our history that's very like that. So, and it was Moors in league with some of these, I say, older Moorish factions. He said, the Tony or the English, the British that's east of the country, those Tony Moors that was mixed with Albions that came up under the Moorish sons that actually it would cause the conflict, bastard sons. So this is a whole. This is one of the reasons that the whole religious system or the whole system was changed to a patriarchal system. So you get your inheritance through the son because the original inheritance comes from the mother. That's why it's called inheritance in her, right? So if you were born right from the son and you were out on European, you didn't get any inheritance. So that led to a bunch of bastard, children, right?
Feeling unloved,
Yeah,
right?
feeling unloved by their fathers, right? When their fathers were noblemen, kings, sultan, princes, you know what I mean?
So they had
So like basically they banded together and went against the other side. So this is where you get light skin, dark skin battle from. You had real dark Moors running the whole world at one point, and then they started having sex with the Albion Europeans who were actually our slaves at that time. So let's be real about that. And their offspring, just that dark skin, light skin feud. You understand? Because you would know that they're not of the original Moors because they're not as dark as you. You know. Now, if you came through the mother, you got your inheritance. If you came through the father, you didn't. So they had to switch that whole thing around. So that goes back to all the paper bulls, the dumb verses, and going all the way up into the Sesame Trust and stuff like that. So like I'm saying, this is a whole bunch of this is the type this is the type of but this is the type of history that you have to unpack and start to understand the politics of what's going on today because the same politics that was going on in the 1400s is the same politics that's going on today. It's just masked by so much stuff that we can't see it, and they keep things so compartmentalized, and they throw so much stuff at you that you inundated with all these messages, and you can't straighten your mind out. So you really have to take the time out, you know what I mean? Go somewhere and focus, and just start sitting and thinking about these things and let this stuff assimilate. Meaning let you start forming your own opinions and stop taking the opinions of the people that's been telling you lies your whole life. Especially
get your facts, get your research, do your research. Look up everything we say today, man. Prove us a lie.
Do we still do that anymore?
They Google.
Researching.
Yeah, they Google.
Yeah,
But do we, even with that, do we still do any of that anymore? Like.
I do.
Look up anything, or we just take, because hey, like I said, he told me that hat, was a baseball cap,
right.
And that's what he said. And because I've been knowing this, I've been knowing him for how long? Why would I think he would lie to me?
Now think about that. Think about that. Now, what does school train you to do? Memorize certain things as truth, right? You go through your whole life, 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, 3 + 3 is 6, and then you go into science and they tell you that stars are real. The actual definition of a star is a wandering planet. If you do the etymology of it, you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
But they'll never tell you that. The actual meaning of queen was a prostitute. The actual meaning of the word nice is fool. So if you say, yo, you're a nice person, you really call somebody a fool. Because the original definition of that word doesn't mean what it means today. So words all have a morphology. You understand what I'm saying? And this, if you do the original,
right.
If you go back to the etymology of the word black, it goes back to a word called blaik. Right? Blaik means turn white.
You know what? I can honestly say, when people will call me queen, I will always tell them I don't want to be, don't never call me that.
Right.
But some would think, hey, if I call you my queen because that makes you, I'm the king, you're the queen, and it makes you, like you're above. No, I don't never like that word.
That word.
So now we all know. Don't call me the queen.
Well, the morphology of the word in later times, right?
Yeah, became something.
Right, means that. But if you go before that, it's QUEA, right? And if you go before that, it's no, I think it's KWEN. For real. And that's the process. So you get,
you know.
Yeah, I don't want to be a prostitute.
Yeah,
No.
but I'm just letting people know. Like I
Right,
said,
yeah,
when people say, "Oh, you're so nice," nice really means fool. You
Please don't call me
understand?
nice.
But these are the things like
But
if
here,
you
we
don't
didn't
really
know,
understand,
yeah.
if you don't understand what
The
the word
words,
means,
right.
right? I
The
was talking,
true
and this is the thing that a lot of wars. I know you've heard me say things that I was saying in casual conversation to a brother or sister, like we just talking inside of, just comfortably. So like if we were talking, I'd be like, you will understand, right? That I'm talking about our people. Me being a Moor, I wouldn't say that, right? But that would be connotative linguistics. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? Because we're talking connotatively. We're not talking denotatively. And that's one of the things that we need to learn how to do, especially when dealing with the opposition or dealing with the odds. We need to talk denotative to speak what you really mean, right? To say what you really mean. Because when you're talking connotatively in court and saying, they say, are you black? You say, yeah, I'm black. That's connotative linguistics right there that puts you under their jurisdiction under tax acquiescence. Because you claim to be a ward of the state. You claim to be mentally incompetent.
So when I see that paper and it says black, white, other, I check other.
You put more in there. People don't tell you you can make your own box. You make your own box, right? Seriously,
Real story.
this is a real story, right? I think it was last year, go to school for my daughter. I can't remember what the situation was. It was a sign, and I think we had an emergency card or something like that, right? We go to the school, and she's Boricua, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had her on the school form listed as Caucasian and white. Like, whoa, what y'all doing? No, I told my partner at the time, cross that out, put nationality, more, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we gave the paperwork back to the clerk of the office, like she was looking at it all confused because she didn't have an entry in her system to put in nationality and from more. But they had somebody that was of a different ethnicity listed as Caucasian and white. So we corrected it on the paperwork. Come to find out, when she got her next job, that's the same thing they did to her. Listed to her as Caucasian and white. Well, she's Boricua, so she crossed it out, nationality Boricua. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You define yourself. You never let anybody else define you. Even with a cop. This is, so if a cop saying that, oh, you're a black person, until you tell him that you're something different, that's who you are. The cop will come up and say your name is John Doe. If that's the evidence that he has to try to, to try to put you in court and get you charged up, and you never say I'm not John Doe, guess how you gonna get convicted as? John Doe. It's the same way with a confession, right? If you murder somebody and you confess to it, they take your confession, no, they take your word for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way with your name. It's the same way with your nationality. They can't tell you who you are, right? You are always your first form of identification because you know who you are. That ID is nothing, really.
Now let me ask you this, because I noticed your name is Bay.
Right.
And a few other Moors have changed their names to Bay.
Mm-hmm.
What is the Bay? Why is that attached? What does that signify to Moors?
Bay is a title of nobility.
Is that a man thing or a woman thing or a Moor thing?
No, it's more.
It's a Moorish.
This is our titles of nobility. These are our names that our ancestors carried that we're allowed to carry that we never know. So a lot of Bay L. So Bay is an enforcer, a law enforcer. L is a lawmaker. You got the L's and the Days on the different side of the empire. So for me to get to explain what, so the L and the L is the same thing, and the Bay and the Day is the same thing, right? And then you have an Ali, like the Prophet Noble Ali, peace be unto him. Like so, those are our titles of nobility. So if you go back to to the United States, basically go to the United States, you'll see that one of their amendments says that U.S. citizens can't carry titles of nobility. Why? Because they're naturalized citizens of a corporation and they're not Moors. They never had titles of nobility until up in the late 1800s, going into the 1900s, when they really seized power around the planet. Up until then, we were running everything.
Very interesting.
Go back and look at some old coins from Barbados and some of the islands, and you'll see that the kings and queens was on them even up into the 1900s. California was named after a Moorish queen, Khalifa. Europe is named after a Moorish queen, Europa. And the only reason that the Albions even are attributed the title of European is because it was allowed for them to come into her lands
Yeah.
to settle there. So when they left out, they carried their name. You understand what I'm saying? So like you're not even really European.
Very interesting. I had to learn all of this within an hour. Okay.
You're not going to learn all of it.
And then try to retain it all.
No, I mean, but this.
But it's informative. It's necessary. You know, and I think it's necessary because I need to know. You know, like they said, you can't move forward until you know when you.
Exactly.
You know, and it makes sense now
The
because.
segue for that is crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah, but to say it and not fully understand what you're saying,
Right.
it's like I don't need to know about my past when it's a lie because if I deny my past, I'm gonna always keep walking wrong in my future, thinking, oh my gosh, we're black, they're white. When no, that's not. They're Abian. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Got the hard
European.
There you go.
Yeah.
See how you're already, that's conscious thought.
It's in there.
You're being
Yeah.
cognizant of your thoughts. So now it's like, okay, I know if I say I'm going off to, and you're actually being aware of your thoughts. But that's what it takes.
And that's how it starts.
Yeah, my
Right.
children,
It has to start.
Yeah, it has to
you
start.
know.
I can't say white and black around my children.
Yeah,
they will correct me immediately. I mean, immediately. My daughter be like, Dad, it's more European.
All right.
From the.
So the European stays. I got that.
I mean,
I got that because they're Albion European and we're more European.
Exactly.
So the European states.
we're the original Europeans.
I just gotta make sure, you know, when I tell my brain that I have to have a
Where
word
it comes from us.
association.
Yeah.
Right. So the European stays is just the front part. The last part stays. The front part is the one that stays.
Yeah, because
So we're more and they're Albion.
right.
Gotcha.
But we are the original Europeans, so I don't want anybody to think, okay, because the European states attached to their name, that's what they are. No, we were those.
Right.
Like I said,
No,
that landmass is named after a Moorish queen.
right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Europa
Yes.
was
Yes.
named after Albion.
Right.
And we took them up into the caves. And Europe means to bind in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So EU.
Oh, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get me a date. The Albion and the more. Okay, maybe I should say it correctly.
Right.
The more first, and then the Albion because we were first.
Right. So when like I came to the 5% nation of God and the earth, peace of all the guys of the earth, and they teach you that you're the original man. That you're the Asiatic black man, but you got to know that Asiatic came before black, right? Because black was just a description of tone, color, like not color but hue, right? Asiatic was the actual nationality, and we're all Asiatics. It's just that we're so vast that we're everywhere, and that is a myth. That's just like with the whole Pan African thing. Like no disrespect to my brothers, but you gotta think like if the world was all together at one point, how was Africa, which wasn't even known until modern times, the motherland, where's the fatherland? You know what I mean? Good question.
Because we always say Mother
It takes a
Nature,
mother and father, right?
Mother Nature,
Right.
Motherland, but you don't.
Inheritance that's
Mhm.
inherent to the matriarchal system that's always ran the planet. Women have always been integral to
Even if you
play
get like cooking, like the mother is the beginning of something. You have a mother sauce.
Right.
You have a mother to go ahead and do your dough if you want to make like an Easter or whatever like that. You know what I mean? It's the mother. It's not a father. You are the work is the father.
But see, that also plays into the whole patriarchal and matriarchal system of things and things being switched around, so that the patriarch would be the actual head of that, be the head of everything. But everything was really dealing with the matriarchal system and how we were raised up in it. Because you're a Mason, right? Not a Freemason.
I'm not a Freemason.
Not a Freemason, but you're a Mason. Because Mason is mother's son, my son. That's what we're all Masons. We're all born 720-degree master Masons. This is why Freemasons have to acquire degrees, but most of the Freemasons are out beyond Europeans, right? And then they end up listening to their lies and try to give us our knowledge back to us, and they'll go pay for it. That's crazy. Need them degrees. It's crazy because you're actually going into a lodge, right? Getting your history and your culture and your information given to you by the oppressor.
It's like going back. It's like going to school.
It's reverse education, and this ain't always you through the right doors most of the time anyway.
Yeah, or hinges, or hold back some of the information. Is interesting. I go through. I have to go for physical therapy once a week for my foot injury, and he, real cool guy. Um, um, and he finally told me his wife is a teacher, and it was just throwing out stuff. And like I explained to him, it's hard for me to try to tell. I'm out here protesting and marching because I don't want, the cops to kill us, but then yet we're killing us. It's like like, I don't want them, but then, it's like contradiction because I don't want, I don't want them to say nigger word, but then we say it. And it's like, it's confusing to me. So I know it's confusing to me. I know it's confusing to them because here it is. I don't want y'all to beat me up, but we're over here. We're gonna beat ourselves up. I don't want you to call us these bad words, but it's okay because we're gonna be over here calling us. When do we like stop? To get us and then. Am I making sense? I get at some point it goes back to
the frustration and the confusion that you're actually feeling right now, trying to actually get your point across, get out what you're saying. It's the same thing that everybody else feels. You understand? Like you can see it happening on both sides, right? But it's not really a contradiction when you start understanding where it actually comes from. It's just like if you're oppressed so much, you begin to oppress yourself, right? So that's the continuation of the oppression is just us doing it to ourselves. It's not them stopping us from doing it to ourselves, though, is it? No. How many times do you see them sending the police in our neighborhoods to stand on our corners to make sure nobody is selling drugs or doing something illegal? They only come when they get cold or they're going to lock somebody up, right? Because you can go to a gated neighborhood and they'll have a cruiser sitting right by the entrance, or they'll have security guards, so you just can't walk in, you'll come onto their properties and stuff like that. It's preventative measures. So for them to look at us and feel, that we're out of line where all this stuff started because before you came here, we weren't living like this. We weren't living like this. Most people don't know in America, we were all kings and queens and sultans and stuff. It was only over in Europe where they had to be the king of kings, and they had that, we had a faction of people over there that was living like that. And that's really the difference between Christianity, the religion, and the religion of Islam. But it doesn't have anything to do with Moors who are Muslims, not Muslims. You understand? So there's a big difference between what a Muslim is and what a Muslim is. Now you can be a Muslim, and if you want to follow, the religion of Muhammad, whatever, peace be unto you, do your thing. That's not my walk because that's not what Islamism is. You understand? So like, I stick to the ancient culture, I stick to the ancestors' ways of life, but like you have different people that came up in different things. This is one of the reasons that a lot of us have English sounding names right now is because those Moors that was over in Europe took those English names and came over here. It's not, you didn't get that name from some old quote unquote white person. That was your family history. And a lot of us didn't have last names until a few centuries ago. You gotta think that last names came from your geographic location. So your last name is Hills because your family lived by a hill.
So where the Joneses come from?
I don't know. I have no idea where the Joneses came from. You know what I mean? But like that's the type of history. But that's the type of research you need to do. Yeah. Like I've done my genealogy going into the census, and I've gone back to where I've actually found family members that didn't have a last name. I think my great grandfather was the last person that I found on my mother's side, on my mother's father's side, that actually had the last name in my family, and he was a Parker down in Tennessee. You understand what I'm saying? And then it goes up into my grandfather's parents getting together, and all that stuff. But like prior to that, our family just had one name. It was John or whatever. And usually it was a different name, or we had more than one name. So you would have an English name, you would have an Arabic name, you would have a Hebrew name, you would have three different names. So a lot of people in history a lot of people in history that you hear their name, they also had other names as well. Because this land was like how they try to make America. They said America was the melting pot. Where you had Moors from all over the empire that was here. So you had Moors that had Islamic influence, or as far as the religion, you had Moors that had Arabic influence. You had indigenous Moors that was right here from America that had their culture here, and like they had different names. But your bloodline is still the same. So you might be related to somebody that might be across the sea, or you might be related to somebody that's in the island. You feel what I'm saying? So when they came, they had to have a name for you. They weren't gonna call you your English name. They were gonna call you the name that they knew in their culture. So you could have different names. So I could be Mac in English, and let's say I go to another culture, or I go to another nation, and I would have a completely different name.
Very interesting.
Benny.
Huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize it.
Perfect example. So I have a friend on Facebook, and she befriended me at least 10, 12 years ago. She's Ghanaian, right? And she just inboxed me one day and was like, "You look like my people. Who are you? Are you Ghanaian?" I was like, "Nah." I was like, "I'm black." And I didn't know. You know what I mean? Like I'm a black person. Like I'm from the United States. I'm American, and all this other stuff. I didn't really know what was going on. She was like, "No, you look like my people." Right? Come to find out, I got Ghanaian roots as well, right? But I didn't know that 10, 12 years ago.
Right.
So she actually adopted me into her family, right? And she had a brother that passed. So she gave me his Ghanaian name. So in Ghana, if I go to Ghana, they would call me Yaw, Y-A-W. And that was bestowed on me by her because that was the name of her brother. So you will come to America, right? If you knew me and I'm walking down the street, they'd be like, Mac, Mac, Mac. And then you have some Ghanaians walking down the street, yo! And I'll turn around, you're like, who they talking to? That's me. But that's the same thing that happened in the past. You know what I mean? Whoever, yeah, you know what I'm saying? If you got Spanish, or what they call Spanish cousins, you know what I mean? And you got a Spanish name. I've talked to females that had cultural names outside of the English name that they had. You understand what I'm saying? So like I can see her walking down the street and say such and such and such, and she'll know exactly what I'm saying. But nobody, who are you talking to? But like I'm calling the name that they would be calling accustomed to in their culture. It's the same thing that happened with us. So like it's been a lot of misinformation that's been spread throughout the years, and we have to be the ones that correct that because obviously they're not going to do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're not.
No.
Well,
If they do, then the system fails.
I must say this has been very, very interesting.
It's like
I'm always I'm open-minded.
Well, you should be. That's what we
I can either accept what you say or anyone says, shut down and say, okay, I prefer to keep the knowledge that I've always had. Or I can accept and decide from there, and I want to learn now that the door has been opened because I believe that there is more to us than just what other people have told us.
You won't feel it until you live it. When you experience it, it's completely different. Because like I said, you first got into it. When I first got into it, you getting this information. We open, we sucking it up, trying to figure out how does it apply to me? How does this work? How do I meet this?
How do I use it?
Once you get to a point where you got something like in your head, you're like, okay, I think I can make. You know what I mean? You try it. Or a situation will happen because the more information that you have, trust me, it's going to get tested. The universe is not going to acquire information and not test you. You understand? I'm not going to let you acquire this information and not test you. So, like, that's what the study is for. That's what the researching is for. So once I started applying what I learned, right, and I started seeing the difference, it was it was completely bananas. So now when I go out in the feds, listen, if I go out in my tent right now without my feds on, you okay? Yes. If I go out right now in my tent without my feds on, they're like, yo, you all right? I had one guy at the gas station like, yo, ain't you the guy that wear the hat? It was cold in the winter one day. I'm putting on my scully. I put my scully on. I didn't have my fez on. He was like, yo, ain't you the guy that wear the thing? Yo, what happened? And I was like, nah, man, it's cold outside. He was like, all right, man, I was just checking. But he sees me and have it every day. When I first started wearing my fez in my town, people would stop, stare, look. People would be taking pictures at me through the store window and stuff like that. Now it's completely normal. Yeah. Today, I went to another store that the lady used to work in the store that's around my neighborhood. I went to another store. She's working in the same store, just in a different neighborhood. She was like, "Oh, I remember you. You're from such and such." But she remembered the feds. You know, when I go certain places, they remember the feds. They remember who I am, and it sets me apart. Not only does it set me apart, right? I also get treated differently in certain places. And so I have people open the door for me. I mean, they can literally be 20 feet in front of me, and they'll see me coming, they'll stop and hold that door until I walk in, and then they'll go grab the next door. I had Freemasons, Shriners, all types of people that come out to me and tell me who they are because they know I know who I am. Right. I have all types of Europeans that ride by on the highway, shake their head, thumbs up, you know what I mean? I think Cuz even told me a story one time where he was out, tell that story, you was out with your friends and they said something, you told him you wasn't black, he was a Moor or something, and he was like, oh, he's different, he not,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. We are just having drinks, you know what I mean?
But they know.
I have Albion friends, right? And we sitting there drinking, some dude was like, "Oh man, that's the black dude with the cowboy hat on. That's the black dude." Like, no, he's not black. He's not black. He's a Moor. He's a Moor. He's more. He's different than that. It's not that. Don't call him that. Like they.
You see what I'm saying?
They come. The ones that once you know your truth, once you know who you are, once you're able to say, "This is what I am," right? They have to accept that.
Your experience.
Right, your experience is different, and if they have already known, and this is the crazy thing for me, right? Like it's like finding out how many of the Albions already knew what I'm finding out, right? And the ones that were close to me were trying to tell me something, but couldn't all the way tell you something, right? And so it was like they tried to get me to view things from a national perspective,
right?
At a time, and I didn't get it then. I mean, this is like when I was in college,
right?
Because they get this.
They understand it. They understand what happens with the United States. And so when you get that PhD, like your doctorate and stuff like that's a doctorate in philosophy.
So you go and get it. If you go into seminary school, if you're going, you know what I mean, different things like that, you're going to get it. So it's one of those things like when you embrace it, and I've always been brazen, regardless of more boom boom. Courtney, they will, whatever you want to call him, will tell you what the heck is on his brain, regardless, if he wants to, feel me? What I found is like with anything, once you embrace it, the people that love you love it. The people that didn't love you anyway. So the skills
what they gonna come to you later on. Sooner or later, it always happens.
Like they see this, man, he went and drinks up, and like we out, man, it's crazy.
No, I'm talking about for real life application. Yeah. Like, so many people tell me, like, yo, man, you were saying this so many years ago, I ain't get it. Now I get it. I get it.
Well, we gotta, we're gonna wrap this up.
She done cussed me out for more than she could take. Now she's kicking me out.
but I wanna bring this back.
We can. I'm gonna try to reach out to some other board. I was supposed to have another board that actually was gonna call in on the show today, but he was actually at work, and I wanted him to actually get his experience, you know, about some things that happened with him, and you know, things that actually is going on with him, where he can actually give some people some details on that. But I'll try to get him in on next week's show or another show at some other time, depending on the time. But we definitely can bring it back.
Yeah, I wanna bring this back. And talk about this a little bit further. But yeah, I appreciate y'all coming on.
Right.
Appreciate you
Sure.
giving me
No problem.
the knowledge. I've been lacking, eager to learn, and maybe, bring some more people on.
Yeah, we can do that.
And,
And if you want to get in touch with me, all you gotta do is go to my website, morrismac.org, morrismac.org. You can leave emails, you can send emails, or you can hit my contact form on Facebook. I can't really talk to you right now. I got about another 7 days of Facebook jail. They shut down all my pages. As soon as I start talking the truth, they shut down every page. Every page. I can only talk to myself. So I'm back with y'all in about 7, 8 days. That's how really short time frame. I got 30. And on Instagram, at photomac, PHOTOMACK, man. Hit me up any questions, man, or hit me up in the email, morris.macbay@gmail.com.
Real fast, I don't like about that is, the big stink with Facebook selling our information, and then you want to come on here and you want to block somebody. Like, you want to take our information and sell it. Not that, no one has not been doing that for years.
You know that's a Fed program, right?
But then you want to block me for posting something. But anyway, we'll talk about it another day.
Well, that's a Fed program, yo.
But I wanted to that I actually got what I needed moving forward to start streaming on Comcast.
Right. Congratulations.
I finally got, so now I had a meeting,
Was that today?
Yeah, I had a meeting.
Okay.
I had a meeting today with lawyer type stuff. So we got to get everything together by Monday. Get everything. Now I want to work on, because Sony has already, that's their name, but Sony is my nickname, not my birth name. So I changed my name just so they wouldn't come after me.
Okay.
But I wanted to see how do I go back, going back to getting my name back with the attached to it.
Okay.
As long as it's not Sony, can I go back to the Sony show without them coming towards me and saying, hey, that's my name?
I mean, technically, it is your name. You feel what I'm saying? It's a variation. It's just like a pseudonym. So, under my publishing company, I'm M.A.Seekins, M.A.CEE -KINGS, but I can also release music as Mac because that is my real name, and you can't take my name away from me.
Well, my name is not Sony, it's Sonya, but because I was raised, that's my nickname, and I wanted to keep my.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
There's ways around.
Yeah. I'm waiting for them to tell me if I can go ways around and get my name back.
Yeah, as long as it's a moniker and it's the Sony show, that is different from
That's Sony. So if I can.
Sony this or Sony that, so like you can do it. It just has to be paperwork right.
Yeah, paperwork right. Again, moving forward, I'm going to be going back to my original, the Sony show, which will be streaming on Comcast. Like, yes. And I did make Minneapolis. I know we had it, but they changed everything. But Minneapolis is going to be my second home. So moving forward, but I don't want to put too much.
Put too much out.
Yeah, put too much out. But I'm doing a clothing. I'm sorry, an accessory. But I can't tell you what an accessory is because some don't have this accessory.
Well, you see this.
Listen, but they don't have mine because it's the Sony.
No, I'm gonna tell you something real.
Okay.
Right? When you have ideas, people, and this don't have nothing to do with more science or anything like this, but we have ideas, right? You pitch them to who you want to pitch them to, and you work on them with them people to get those ideas developed. Because once you have the idea in your head, it's going to travel, and somebody else is going to have it.
I know somebody.
So when you're thinking about it, at the time you're thinking about it, you're putting that out in the universe, and somebody is going to have. It's the same reason people have the same invention on 2 different parts of the planet. Like thoughts wait, they actually have to wait. So be careful with your thoughts.
I'm careful with it. I'm careful.
Your thoughts become me.
My thoughts become me. So I want to share this for those that thought they had me and they tried to dismantle me and lie and use and abuse me. It only make me stronger. I'm just saying. But in the meantime, and all in between time, I thank you so much, Philly Hott, I thank you, Matt, for coming on here. I thank you, Cool Mo D over there. Boy, I can't wait. Boy, that shit back out. Boy. Wait a minute. Now do they pose again?
I ain't nothing. I love this. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
I thank y'all for listening, for tuning in, and we'll be out.